Hi, everyone. I am back here to talk about our Beyond Beer Company of the Year, which is Schilling Cider. And here to chat about it is co founder and CEO Colin Schilling. Hi, Colin.
What's up, Zoe? Thanks so much for having us, and what a huge honor.
Yeah, thank you for chatting. I know you're a familiar face to some of the Brewbound audience. We've had you on quite a couple times. So excited to give you guys this award and chat about what you've been up to. I think the best place for us to start is just kind of on cider overall. You guys are a cidery in the Pacific Northwest. What is the state of cider right now? I mean, it's kind of like I like to call it a sneaky segment a little bit because it doesn't make a lot of headlines, but you got cider as a segment has maintained share of beer pretty much, and it to do that, it's got to be doing something good. So what does that segment look like right now?
Yeah, that's a good question. Honestly, people have been asking that question for years because cider has always kind of done well, but it's such a niche category that a lot of the big players don't seem to take notice. And it's perfect for a company like ours, who we can really focus on quality craft products, but not necessarily blip the radar of folks that might want to mess with our little small world over here. So it's been really good though. And if you look at the kind of national landscape, there's a lot of regional cider players that are making good quality craft cider that are doing really well. I was just looking at the top 10 list the other day, and 7 of the 10 are growing and growing well. And the 3 that are declining are kind of your bigger national brands. So it really does tell that story of regionality with cider and people that are using good quality ingredients. Um, I think also in the broader landscape of, a lot of focus on beyond beer and kind of very flavor forward beverages that are, not beer. Cider is really well positioned because it is a very authentic beverage that has a lot of ability to offer great flavors, regional flavors, fruit based, with a great story and a great history, but it's premiumized, right? So it's something that actually you can tie back to agriculture. And so I'm really optimistic about the category, both now and long term. I think you're going to see continued big numbers for us out of this category, but hopefully not big enough that, some of the big guys come in and, mess with us too much.
I like how you refer to the big guys because within cider world, you are kind of one of the big guys now. If like you're doing really nice numbers, what you've been around for more than a decade now. So how have you evolved over that time as a company?
Of course, like any good startup, we were founded in my garage, and we quickly moved on from there. But I can really break it down into kind of 3 phases. Phase one is you're hustling every day. You're just trying to stay alive. It's a roller coaster. You got some really long days. And then we got through that period. We kind of made a lot of mistakes early, learned quickly, really, figured out what the customer wanted and figured out how we could make that work with our supply chains, continue to make really quality product as we grew. And from there, I think the next big phase for us was really scaling up and getting to that next level. So a couple of years ago, about 4 or 5 years ago at this point, we installed a pretty big canning line, and that was really kind of our phase 2 of the company. And that allowed us to grow and drive, profitability through efficiency ultimately. And that led us to be able to build a company that didn't need outside capital to continue to grow and organically grow. And that's allowed us to make some really nice decisions, to grow slower, honestly. And I know you look at the numbers and laugh at me, but to be honest, we have made some decisions to grow very carefully and very strategically. In my mind, that does mean growing a little bit slower than some other options that are out there. But that's allowed us to really nicely pivot into kind of phase 3 of the company where we are today, where we're really focusing on, of course, all the things we've done before: efficiency, quality product, great marketing and sales. But we've also really focused on culture and sustainability, and that's been something that's allowed us to be in a really unique space of our business now, and I really enjoy that. Being able to focus on being a people-driven company and figuring out ways to give back to the community, and also to put more sustainable practices into our business. That we couldn't have made those decisions early on when resources were a little more constrained. So, to be honest, I still feel like we're getting warmed up. We're really hitting our stride in a lot of areas, and we're really being able to focus on more and more things, but do them better and better. So I couldn't be more excited about it. And yeah, happy to chat more, hopefully in a few years, and look back and say, hey, it felt small today.
So the reason why we're chatting today is because you guys are our Beyond Beer Company of the Year. So tell me about Chilling's 2022. What did this year look like for you?
Yeah, that's a huge honor. And I just want to say thank you guys for the recognition. And I really appreciate that. especially in, the overall climate of beverage right now, when there's so many beyond beer companies out there. There's big companies doing some really innovative things. There's a lot of other great smaller companies doing some great things. It's a huge honor. And I think it also sheds light on the cider category, as you were talking about before. And I think that you guys have probably seen that as well, is that with this shift towards beer alternatives, I think you're going to continue to see cider be a big focus going into the future, because it has just such a great story and such a great history around it, and provides that flavor people are looking for. So specifically on us in 2022, it was a wild ride for sure. I mean, it's been a great, great year. I was actually looking back, since 2016 to current, we've averaged about 44% growth year over year, every year in that time period. And believe it or not, we're actually going to be right about there again this year, despite a bigger and bigger base. So to do that, it's been a stretch for sure. In some ways, we added 80,000 square feet of production space this year. We doubled our tank capacity this year. If you go back last year, we planned for a maximum growth number, and we were within 2% of that growth number. So it was a bigger stretch last year. This year, we planned for even more growth, and we're coming in a more comfortable space. But, we're not immune to a lot of the challenges other folks have faced. There's been huge issues with the supply chain, of course. There are a lot of key ingredients for us that used to take 6 weeks to get, that stretched to 6 months. So now you're talking about holding par values of 6 to 9 months of very expensive ingredients, which is certainly a cash flow challenge. If you look at our biggest ingredient, which is fresh pressed juice, that's up 97% for us in the same time last year, which is insane. I'm sure other people have similar complaints, but just in terms of talking about inflation and price increases, you can't pass all that on to the consumer, nor would you want to. But we have certainly taken some price increases this year. But overall, we've also made some huge strides on projects that have been on a focus for a while. But we've made a lot of progress with it this year, especially around some really cool things we're doing in the sustainability space. I think we've made a bunch of leaps in terms of putting people first and building a really strong culture. And we've also been able to build in a lot more charitable giving into our kind of everyday process, which I'm super excited about. And you're going to see a lot more from that from us in the future, where, instead of spending money on kind of traditional marketing and ads, we're actually redirecting that to charitable giving. And we're doing that with the communities that we touch. And we feel really strongly about that, especially with a younger generation of consumer that, instead of wanting to see another flashy ad, they actually want transparency in the company, which is so exciting because it allows us to live our values better and not necessarily divert from sales by doing that. So it's a really great synergy we're excited about. And of course, I'd be remiss not to talk about Vita Mate, which is the hat I'm wearing, and our relatively new, brand new yerba mate. So it's a high caffeine, non-alcoholic play. It's the number 3 yerba mate in the Pacific Northwest already, where we're testing it out up here. And what's so exciting about this is it allows us to create and make an amazing, fruit-based product that's within our wheelhouse, our core competency, but it's for a totally different need state, right? We're not competing with ourselves in terms of evening, afternoon beverages. This is 100% a morning wake you up drink. So it's really cool to be able to use our facility and our know-how to be able to now hit like 2 completely different window hours in the day. And that we got some really exciting stuff coming for that next year as well.
You mentioned when you're talking about growth that you guys take a different approach a little bit. We talked earlier this year about it as well, that you're not trying to go as a big national brand immediately. You're trying to be deeper in certain markets than kind of just dipping your toes in all 50 states. So why is that an important strategy for you guys, and why do you find that you need to take that approach?
Yeah, great question. And, this is something I think we kind of came to just by thinking about it a lot. But we don't want to be a 50-state company. And there's a lot of reasons for that. What we'd rather do is have 3 to 4 really high performing brand families and a smaller handful of really high performing distributors that are really motivated about us as a company. And the reality of it is as a cider company, as you pointed out, before, we're a relatively small category. And, as we continue to grow and, say we go to a new state that's a few states over from our home markets, cider is not going to be their biggest category. It's going to be something else. And so getting that share of mind with the distributor, it doesn't necessarily make sense for them to give us a ton of share of mind because we're going to be a small piece of their portfolio. But if we come back to them with a morning drink, cider, maybe some more innovation in a few other different spaces, now we become a portfolio that is important to their business. But we can't do that 50 state. I mean, we also know the limitations of our resources. And we're not trying to step on the toes of, some bigger players that have a lot more resources than we do. And so that's one of the reasons. The other one is kind of about the business that you want to run and operate as well. I'm sure you have a better number than me, but my guess is it takes about 300 distributors to cover the US these days, maybe 250 if you're using a lot of, bigger distributors. That's a lot of distributors to manage, and that's a lot of people to manage. So I think there's a lot of synergy to be gained by having less distributors, but more products through that pipeline. And then you come back to supply chain, carbon footprint, things like that. Shipping from the Northwest, Seattle, Washington, across the country is not cost effective. It's not carbon footprint effective. And we're doing a lot of work right now around, reducing our footprint on the environment. And actually, we're benchmarking our carbon footprint right now per ounce of liquid that we make. And we're hoping to be able to compare that across the industry for other types of beverages. And so again, if we were trying to sell a bunch of product on the Eastern Seaboard, again, that's really going to bring some of those numbers down, and it's going to cost us a fortune to ship it out there. So I think we can build a great, sustainable, long-term business with less states than 50. And that's really what we're shooting for.
The ways typically that you can grow is both distribution and then with new products. And especially in the beyond beer space, there's kind of this constant need for new all the time. How does Schilling and just cider overall kind of stand out in that space and keep up with this constantly moving innovation cycle?
Yeah, that's a great and funny question in the context of our company, because we've always thought about ourselves as super innovative, and we have been. We created a lot of new categories in cider, especially early on. We were some of the first people doing fruit cider. We were the first people to do canned cider in the country. We moved to 6-packs when a lot of people were still on 4-packs in cider. We, of course, created the Imperial canned cider category with Excelsior, now the Excelsior family, which has really been a huge piece of our portfolio in the last couple of years. It's definitely driven our business forward. But like you said, kind of around when White Claw came on the scene, you just saw this exponentiation of innovation overall. And we looked at it in a very funny way, because for me, I love innovation. I mean, if I could do nothing else, I'd innovate all day long. But you got to be really careful with over innovating for a couple of reasons. One, it's expensive, it's challenging, it's risky, but also ultimately you're going to train your consumer to only want whatever's new. And to build a long-term sustainable business, you need to build brands that have staying power and value. If you look at some of the best craft beer brands, some of the best national brands, these brands have been around for a long time and they don't change all that much. And there's a reason that they're still around. And so we're pretty careful with innovation these days, and we're actually really trying to dial it back. We want to make sure we're building things that have long-term value. That being said, we're absolutely going to keep innovating. That's core to our company. So Vita Mate is a prime example of that, but it's really outside of the box innovation. It's not really competing with the products we're currently making. And so I would say that if you see future innovation from us, it's going to be in a similar kind of fashion. We're looking at some other things in the cider category that are kind of similar to what Excelsior did, where it really revolutionized the cider category overall. There's certainly more opportunity like that. And there's also opportunity beyond cider as well that I think are pretty interesting.
If people haven't seen it yet, you are giving a talk at Brewbound Live, talking kind of about culture in the workplace and all the stuff that you're doing at Schilling. I'm really excited for this chat, and we'll have a little Q&A afterwards as well. But supporting a healthy workplace for your employees has been kind of a core pillar for Schilling Cider, and we talk about it in every conversation I think we have with you guys. What are some of those programs that you have in place, and why is that such a big part of your mission?
Yeah, I'm so excited and honored again to be, I found out about the talk before I found out about this award. So I'm double honored, and I really appreciate, you guys giving me the stage to talk about such an important issue. As our industry has really struggled with culture and various other, toxic issues. And we've always set out to do things differently with Schilling. And this is definitely within that vein, is how do we set a different course and also show that this can be a winning and profitable strategy? So that's really what I'm passionate about, and what this talk is all about is, why did we do it? And then how do we do it? And then why should you do it? And so specifically what we're going to look at is, this talk could be 20 hours long if you're the one to dive deep. So of course I had to pare it down a little bit, but the goal here is to give folks who maybe haven't done a lot of work in this space kind of some things to think about, and then a path forward.
Well, I'm really excited for that chat, which will hopefully be online by the time this video comes out as well. I want to leave us with this. What can we expect from Schilling in 2023? What do you guys have coming down the pipeline?
So I wasn't supposed to say this, and my team's going to kill me, but I think we're going to bet the whole farm on hard soda. Like 20 new flavors. No, I'm just kidding.
I got nervous.
No, I mean, in all seriousness, I can't tell you the exact things that we're bringing out yet. But we've done a ton of building this last year. We've added a lot of people. We've added a ton of equipment and structures and space, production facility, new markets. And so next year, we're really kind of refocusing on streamlining a lot of what we've already done to be more efficient and do what we have already started better. It's not rocket science. It's kind of get back to basics and do the things that got you here really, really well, and continue to focus on that. We do have some awesome new brands coming to market. There's some new stuff in the Vita Mate space that I'm really excited about, and some Schilling Cider items as well. And, if you really dig deep, we've also changed some laws here in Washington. And so there's some innovation coming in that space as well that I'm excited about, but I can't say too much for now. And I'm sure you can, a drink or two at the conference, and I may be able to tell you a little bit more.
Well, I think that it is a perfect place for us to end. Again, congratulations on Schilling's award.
Thank you.
And we will see you in Santa Monica. Thank you, Colin.
Sounds good. Have a great day. Always nice to talk to you.